They've recreated full-scale rooms. It's pretty cool. An educational and intriguing experience for all ages. You know, some experiences are educational, others are intriguing. Rarely are we able to cross the streams in this way. So I got 4 tickets for you. All the details, COSI.org. The Titanic Artifact Exhibit at COSI. Good luck. Caller 10, those 4 tickets are yours. 216-578-1007 or 800-348-1007.
This is not a reminder to spring forward this weekend. This is a reminder that it's daylight saving time. There's no S. It's not a friggin' bank account. Back to the Alan Cox Show on 100.7 WMMS.
I was just telling Mary, I think I'm starting to feel the bottom fall out from this one-chip challenge. It worked its way down into my lower GI.
Not happy.
Are you concerned you'll have to leave early?
I might, dude.
Uh-huh.
Like I'm fighting it now because I'm afraid that if I start, I won't stop.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a legitimate concern.
Yep.
Like if this starts to come out and then I'm trapped here for
all of these things that you brought and no cork.
no cork.
No.
Well, because I thought that might be worse.
Did you consult with Dr. Ryan Berglund?
Well, he said that he has partaken.
Right.
Horrible. My son talked me into it, and it was ugly. It was ugly for like a day.
See, that's what we're talking about. It's okay. So
Yeah.
were you
But
experiencing what we're experiencing, where it was like hot at first, fine for a little while, and then intestinal problems?
On the way out, it's bad.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I'm worried
Really
about.
bad. Yeah.
Oh, no. It's going to be like battery acid.
That's where we're at.
But Dr. Ryan Berglund's here for Is It Red? We'll get to that in a second. But I don't know if we were in this room the last time you were with us. I think we were still in the street side
We were in
studio.
the street side one, yeah.
Yeah, and I moved us into the box. But explain the full story of you doing the one-chip challenge. You got a bait and switch.
Yeah. So we walked into the it was the gas station. It's sitting there. My son and I talk each other up. We get the chip. We count down. I crunch into it. He kind of watches me chew it, and then throws it out the window. And he never,
How old was he?
14.
Wow.
Yeah, it was rough.
And you're a grown-ass man, and you did it.
I did it.
Yeah.
I did it.
So it was bad news for about 24 hours.
Yeah, and I was driving when I did it. That was a bad idea.
I was just going to say, you said he threw it out the window.
Yeah, like runny nose and your eyes and your face explodes and the whole thing.
It was horrible. I mean, there was a point where I almost had to pull over. You know how it is. It's
yeah.
terrible.
It was like the first, we were saying about 20 minutes are pretty intense and pretty terrible.
Dr. Berglund, you went to Harvard and you did this while you were driving? That's a very stupid thing to do.
I thought it was going to be like, you go into a restaurant and you get a hot wing and they say it's hot, and it's hot, but it's not. I didn't realize it was this kind of deal.
Well, we were really psyching ourselves out. I mean, we were on the precipice. Well, on the precipice of like throwing in the towel before we even did it. But my thought was, well, I have to do it because I've been talking about it for 2 weeks. But I basically told Mary and Poundcake, I was like, if you guys do not want to do this, you don't have to do this, because I fully understand. A few years ago, Poundcake ate the raw pepper. He ate the Carolina Reaper.
Oh my God.
So he didn't want to relive it, but also I was like, there's no way this is going to be worse than that.
I didn't know, because it was just the Reaper, but now they can manipulate things. I mean, you're a doctor, you know how they do in the labs where they can just manipulate a gene.
You're a man of science.
After I found out that he ate that chip while he was driving, I don't know if I trust his doctoring anymore.
A man of science.
Doctor, is there anything we can do to prevent it from burning on the way out?
There's nothing you
Nothing.
can do.
You just got to ride it out.
Ate it. No.
It's gonna hurt either way.
Oh, we just got to ride it
coming
out.
up one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, let's get to it.
Is it red? Does it itch? Does it hurt like a bitch? Is it red? Is it red? Is it red?
All right, guys, you got some stuff going on down there. Dr. Ryan Berglund is a longtime collaborator of the show, and he's a surgical urologist there at the Cleveland Clinic. He performed my vasectomy. And when I tell you that he performed my vasectomy, by the way, it was a show unlike any other I'd ever seen, right? You hear that thrown around all the time. Oh, they're performing surgery, they're performing a procedure, but it was, and to this day, I will say, and I know that prior to my vasectomy, we had conversations here on the show and off the air about how, some people have complications. Every person's different. Mine, tight as a drum. Not one single issue. And I chalk that up to your expertise. And the two nurses you had on duty with me, too, which I appreciated.
Bad things can happen, though, to any of us. And, every now and then I'll have a guy who literally, their scrotum looks like an eggplant. So it does happen.
You had one of our customers on today.
He was, the guy was great. It was my last one of the day.
Yeah.
He has 7 kids.
Yeah, I know.
Did he hit you up, Bill? Did he tell you?
Well, he was at my show on Sunday at Hilarities, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to see Dr. B on Friday right before he comes in for Is It Red? So I'm like, hell yeah. I'll make sure I find out about your nuts.
7 kids.
7 kids. And, it had been the thing where the wife had been trying to talk him into it and then finally agreed to it. And within 10 minutes, he had an appointment.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
If you have a question for Dr. Berglund, you can call it in 216-578-1007 or 800-348-1007. You can text me 35192. You can email me, Alan at AlanCoxShow.com. Alan, I had a vasectomy 3 weeks ago. I'm still having pain in my inner thighs. I get it after a full day of work or after taking long walks. I've been taking a leave, but that is not working. Just wondering if there's something else I could do or if this is a problem.
It probably just irritated a nerve that innervates not just that area, but also the inner thigh. One of the sensory nerves does that, and it probably just got irritated from the procedure. Probably had some tracking blood or inflammation. It will likely go away. It's just kind of tincture of time.
Mm-hmm.
But you can get these problems from it. It's not something to take lightly.
Something that you should look into or ask about.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey, Dave.
Yes.
What's going on, Dave?
Hey, long-time hater, first-time caller.
Hey, thanks.
Hey, I'm in the process of getting a vasectomy. The doctor said I need to get an ultrasound, and those results came back that I have an undescended testicle. And so
I was wondering why he was asking you to get an ultrasound, and so clearly when he examined you, he could only feel one testicle, right? You can't feel the other testicle?
No, I have a pair. Like
That's the
they're
third
there.
Okay, so he could feel it just has not pulled all the way down to the sac. He can feel it though.
Yeah, because he said when he checked me that it felt a little bit more. He couldn't quite find the tubes or something.
Yeah.
And so then. I thought it was just because it was cold in the procedure room, and they pulled up in. And the gel was cold, too. But, yeah, so I'm being referred to a urologist sometime next week. So I knew you were being on, and I surely wanted to get your advice.
Well, you do need to get that dealt with for a couple of reasons. Number one, it just takes one testicle to have a pregnancy, so you need to be able to get both tubes. And so even though one's
I remember that commercial from the 90s.
I learned it from watching you, Dad.
It only takes one testicle to get
somebody pregnant.
Wear a condom.
Mm-hmm.
So, if he only gets the tube from the normally descended testicle, we could still have trouble. The second thing, though, is, and interestingly, how old are you?
40.
So having an undescended testicle does increase the risk of getting testis cancer. And you have just as high a risk of getting testis cancer in the testicle that's undescended as the one that's descended. So you might need to either bring the testicle down, or if it's not a really functional testicle, remove the testicle just because of that risk. Because when it's undescended, you can't really feel it very well. But it could have been it could have been a cold room. I mean, there could have been other things going on. One of the things I do, and I don't know if Alan remembers this, but I have there's kind of a cooling down period before we do the procedure where it's not a cooling down period, but we actually put a warm compress on the scrotum to try and get everything to drop as far as it can.
Oh, hell yeah, I remember that. Man, that warm compress, that is the secret sauce, Dave.
Ooh, next year's punishment, warm compress challenge. Where we go real warm.
Undescended, a lot of single nut dads out there.
What's the process of undescending, or to get a testicle to descend? Is it like, do you have to coax it out you're like, come here, testes, or is it like untangling Christmas lights?
So there's actually there's a distinction. There's something called a retractile testicle, and that's one you can actually pull down.
Okay.
So if you can pull it, but it keeps popping up, that's retractile.
Okay.
And
is that much of a worry or no?
Those usually drop down. Those usually are fine.
Those are just like a little.
The undescended means it's not coming down.
Yeah.
And so when you're a child, you try to rescue the testicle. There are procedures you can do where you kind of cut some of the connections, leave the blood supply intact, leave the vas deferens intact, pull it down, kind of tack it down into the scrotum.
Those Sarah McLachlan testicle rescue commercials get me every single time. It's the sad music. It's
Sack of an angel.
Alan, my ejaculation does not shoot very far. Does this affect fertility? It's hard to imagine my sperm reaching the phallopes. It's like 26 miles an hour, though, isn't it? I mean, when they the emission.
And that's the average, because there's people bringing us down like this guy.
Yeah, right.
Old drippy shot.
I think a lot of people honestly watch a little too much stuff on the internet,
right?
About guys doing,
they think it's going to be gobs going
right,
miles.
And that's just
like anti-aircraft fire or something.
That's not the way it works for most guys.
Who doesn't want a gob though? Like it's.
Well, yeah, wanting it, that's fine. That's for guys who are watching too much porn. Otherwise, who cares?
My question is, those that do have gobs, do they do anything different? Do they have a different diet, or is it?
Bye,
just
Mary. Is this because you have to poop or because you're so turned on? All that gob talk.
Actually having an enlarged prostate and some of the treatments we do for an enlarged prostate can affect your ability to have a strong ejaculation. But there are a lot of things that work there. There's the amount of fluid, the contraction of the muscles that push the ejaculate out. So
you gotta keep your pelvic floor intact.
Some people have it, some people don't.
Mine is. I mean, if I may just add some anecdotal, like
just for context,
there's days where it's just like there's days where it's like, wow, like it's really going, and and then there's times where it's like,
yeah, it's
here you go.
It might be tired.
Yeah, it might be
Take
a little
day
tired. It
off.
might have been a bit later at night. It might have been the second time that day, or maybe a little dehydrated.
That refractory period will get you every time. Hey,
the interesting thing is it's not really shooting up inside. You're just kind of depositing.
Yeah, you just got to get it in there.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it starts.
So don't you worry about the phallopes. Hey, Jeff.
The phallopes are going to gobble it up.
Yeah. Hello, Jeff.
Yes.
What's up, man?
I just wanted to ask the doc. I see on those commercials, or hear on the commercials, that if when you take those pills, that if you have an erection that lasts for 4 hours or longer, go see the doctor or go to the emergency room. What do they do there?
Well, that's this is one reason why you don't want to have this problem. That's called priapism, and it can actually permanently damage the penis if the erection stays up too long. So the most common thing that we do initially is we put a needle into the side of the penis, aspirate some blood out, and inject a drug into the penis that causes the arteries to constrict, to reduce the blood flow into the penis, to get the blood out of the penis. Because some people think, an erection is you got a bone in the penis that kind of sticks out, and there actually are animals that have that. But in humans, it's actually just more blood is flowing in than flowing out kind of phenomenon. So if you can drain some of the blood and cut off some of the blood supply to the penis, you can get it to go down. But if that doesn't work, then you're starting to talk about surgical procedures where you extract the blood and kind of reroute the blood out of the penis. It can be pretty involved.
Ew.
Good night, nurse. Right.
Yeah, I never thought about how much blood's going on. You're like, oh man. Hey, babe, I'm really filling up with blood right now. You know what I mean?
I came across an article a couple of weeks ago and set it aside for myself for the next time you were in here. Are you guys getting hip to the company called Contraline? There's a biotech company called Contraline.
Now, tell me a little bit about it.
Okay, well, the headline is, a gel injected into the scrotum could be the next male contraceptive.
I got to tell you, it's very interesting that you mentioned that, because we hear these stories of the male contraceptive over and over and over again.
It's like the Holy Grail.
It almost never works out.
Yeah.
Right.
And we still haven't seen one, because remember, the problem is not just to stop sperm, but that you have to have some way of having it come back down the road. It has to be reversible.
Yeah.
And the female cycle is so easy to manipulate with hormones that's a very, very straightforward way.
And with money.
Yeah.
I'm not the cycle, but psyche. Sorry.
Well, let me read a little bit of this to you, right? This biotech company has safely implanted a sperm-blocking hydrogel in 23 minutes, designed to be a fully reversible vasectomy. So what they did was they injected it into the vas deferens, and they said within a month, they saw a 99% reduction in mobility of the sperm, and they haven't seen any side effects. So big picture, they're looking at this like, oh, this would be like an IUD for guys.
So the question is going to be reversibility, right? And so I remember reading about this exact product. So you got to make sure that it's not scarring down the inside of the vas deferens, or it has to be reversible for it to. Otherwise, just get a vasectomy, right? If it's not reversible, and so time will tell. But there have been so many variations on this idea that we could somehow have reversible infertility in men, and it just has never panned out.
It's trial and error, right? I mean, that's what they've probably got to do.
Yeah,
we're going to try this, and
they're going to have to sign somebody up for a clinical trial who understands it may not be reversible. That they may never have a patent vas deferens again.
I know that March Madness is coming up, and that is a very busy time for you, right?
It's already getting busy,
right?
It's crazy
because guys, you've said in years past, guys you have a lot of vasectomies and things like that scheduled around March Madness because guys want to sit at home on the frozen bag of peas and watch the games.
It's a 20% increase annually at the clinic in March.
Right.
Of this. It's unbelievable. The other thing, the Masters is big, and video game releases big.
Anytime there's a new Call of Duty dropping or something like that,
Whenever there's like a weird, I got 10 of them on a Friday, and the guys seem to know each other, and then you're like, I'll ask them, I'll be like, "What's out?" And they're like, "Oh, this is the new Call of Duty. It came out this weekend."
Hey, Kyle.
Hey, how you doing, Alan?
Good. What's up?
Good. So, funny story. I did have a vasectomy, and I apparently wasn't fully numb, and I ended up kicking the medical tray, and stuff went everywhere. But my question is, I've got some blood bubble sacs on my scrotum, and I guess it's a three-part question. One, what are they? Two, what causes them? And three, are they dangerous to pop like a pimple?
You probably just had a little bit of subcutaneous bleeding, is my guess. I probably wouldn't pop them. The only thing is if they're infected, that'd be
something you probably want to go see a.
Correct. The description's a little bit odd because normally what we see is just really intense bruising or swelling of the scrotum. It sounds like yours is more like a something involving the skin as opposed to the skin of the scrotum.
Yeah, doctor. To be honest, this isn't vasectomy related. It's just the story was just because of fun. But no, the issue has showed up for the past 3 or 4 years, and they don't go away.
Yeah, so now I know what you're talking about. Those are benign lesions on the scrotum. They typically don't cause any harm. If I'm assuming they are what they are, I'm not looking at them, of course. That's something that it's cosmetic more than anything else. So if it's really bothersome, you could have a dermatologist or a urologist remove them. But those are just some kind of benign abnormal blood vessels in the scrotum.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, I'm sure my wife doesn't appreciate looking at someone who's doing her business, but besides that, it's all good then.
What you're probably describing is an angiokeratoma, but there are a number of things that can look like that on the scrotum, and they're very common.
Oh, okay, so no worries at all. Thank you, doctor.
No problem.
All right, thank you, Kyle. If you have a question for Dr. Ryan Berglund, 216-578-1007 or 800-348-1007. You can text 35192. Alan, I am a 57-year-old male. After 3 UTIs and putting the scope up there, they said I had stricture and enlarged prostate, said I should get a TURB, T-U-R-B?
TURP, yeah.
TURP.
Yep.
They might be talking to text here. Should I be worried about the amount of cutting to clear both the stricture and the prostate? Expect any future ED?
Well, number one, he's had 3 urinary tract infections and he's a male.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Okay.
So urinary tract infections are very common in women because they have a very short urethra, and the bacteria that are right near the opening of the urethra that cause infection are right there. So women get them frequently. Men, not so much. They've got a long urethra and not the same kind of bacteria.
I'm a grower, not a shower. Yeah.
So if you're having urinary tract infections, this problem's not going to go away in all
Great cake
likelihood.
song, by the way. Short skirt, long urethra.
And the infections can become severe. Urinary tract infections, they can become severe in women too, but in men, when they get them, they can be pretty significant. If you've got that kind of obstruction, you could get some serious problems. So That's one where I'd follow the advice.
What's the TERP?
That's where you put the patient to sleep, put a large scope in the penis, and this is something you wouldn't tolerate awake. And you use an electrocautery device, a little loop, an electrical loop, to core the prostate out, essentially.
Just kill me.
My patients call it
the prostate out.
my patients always call it they call it the roto-rooter.
Like trying to put the hyperloop between Columbus and Cleveland.
That's right.
Yikes.
But it works. It's a very effective treatment. So
so to his point about should he expect future ED,
that's
a variable.
That's uncommon but possible.
Yeah.
And what is common is getting ED, having it caused by the TURP is unusual, but possible.
We're going to take a break here. If you've got a question for Dr. Ryan Berglund from the Cleveland Clinic, now would be the time to ask, guys or ladies. A lot of guys they need to be compelled to ask for help, and so maybe you want to ask on their behalf. But 216-578-1007 or 800-348-1007 to call live. You can email me with a question. You can do it anonymously, however you like. Or you can text 35192. We'll take a break and be back.
The Alan Cox Show on 100.7 WMMS. And everywhere you go on our free iHeartRadio app. Rover's Morning Glory.
Jeffrey, if you had gone to college, what fraternity would you have joined?
I don't know. Probably something that's like into aeronautics and stuff like that, because I'm into airplanes and aviation history and stuff.
Well, what's the airplane fanatic fraternity?
The crux of what I'm trying to say is I know for a fact I'm not fraternity material.
Crappa Delta?
Okay, Doogie. How about Phi 4 Head Phi? For you. That'd be a great sorority for you.
Rover's Morning Glory.
Weekdays on 100.7 WMMS and 24/7 on our free iHeartRadio app.
This Buzzard Weekend is sponsored by Spectrum and Dollar Bank.
Raising Cane's, marinated and hand-battered chicken fingers served fresh and hot. One love.
In this week's Marketers Report, Chris Brandt, Chief Marketing Officer at Chipotle Mexican Grill, weighs in on the power of audio.
We've used